and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 33 episode of the 100 Experts. We're going to see what the top FPL managers are doing this game week and see if we can learn anything from their trends. So if you do enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's get started. So first of all, a massive thank you to our 100 experts that helped us out this game week. Now, this is going to be an interesting game week. I've decided to do today's video just a little bit differently, and you're going to find out very shortly exactly what we're going to be doing. But hopefully you enjoy the way we do this video this week, and a massive shout out to the experts this week for volunteering extra information for us once again. So, of our 100 FPL experts this game week, we have got 39% making one transfer this week. We've got 31% making two transfers. So, actually, we are seeing quite a lot of our managers making multiple transfers this week. We've actually got 4% making 3 or more transfers. So, again, a big week for there. And one person using their wildcard, not a trend, unfortunately. So, I don't think it's necessarily a good week to wildcard. Most of our experts seem to be off that idea. But we have also got 25% here not making a transfer at all this week. And now I'm going to tell you how we're going to be doing things slightly different today, because it does kind of relate to the information you see on here, because a lot of people are free hitting in game week 34. A lot of our experts are free hitting in game week 34 and some aren't. And the transfer trends between those free hitting in 34 and those not free hitting in 34 are entirely different. In fact, even the amount of transfers made is different between the two sets of managers. With those free hitting next game week, we'll be making more transfers this week. We see that a lot. No one's rolling their transfer. Everyone is making some kind of transfer, because if you don't use your transfer before your free hit, you lose your transfer. It goes. It disappears. You can't roll a transfer through a free hit. Just doesn't work. That's just the rules of the game. So lots of transfers being made, in particular by those looking to free hit next game week, and we've got a lot more people rolling their transfers. In fact, the whole of the 25% rolling are all people who are not free hitting next week and want to make multiple transfers in game week 34. So a big trend there. I would say if you are not free hitting next game week, you are more inclined probably to roll a transfer this week. But if you are free hitting, go for it. Make some transfers. Let's go further. So first of all, the most popular transfers in the world are as follows. Palmer, De Bruyne and Watkins top the list at time of recording, although I have to say, looking through these numbers, there's not too many transfers being made this game week. Maybe some people saving their transfers to the last minute, or maybe it's just not really a game week to be making transfers at all, because these numbers are lower than we usually see on this video series among the overall player base, with none of them above the 100,000 mark at this moment. But certainly Palmer, De Bruyne, Watkins seem the popular picks. Foden has been maybe declared available. You know, positive news on Foden. Apparently this game week he is likely to be available, but still something to keep an eye on as we approach the deadline. Luis Diaz also popular there as well, but we've got a really interesting circumstance here with whether our experts agree with these picks, because Foden, Luis Diaz, Garnacho, Havertz and Ben White are the most popular players of this list among our experts, and these are really the only players on this particular list that our experts are strongly interested in. In fact, when we go to the later pages in this video, you will see that the transfers that our experts are making are actually really not too similar to the transfers that the overall player base are making. So this could be a real opportunity for you guys. Palmer, De Bruyne and Watkins, in fact, have 0 transfers among our experts. Nobody is bringing them in. To be fair, I would say pretty much every one of our experts owns Cole Palmer by this point, so maybe that one doesn't count, but De Bruyne and Watkins are very, very low ownership among our experts, and none of them really looking to bring them in either. In fact, Watkins is actually being sold by a couple of our experts as well, which I found quite interesting indeed. So there is a real disparity between what the experts are doing and what the overall player base are doing this game week, which often spells opportunity. I love it. So guys, let's see what our experts are indeed doing. So here are our most popular transfers out among our 100 experts, and we divided this between free hitters and non-free hitters for game week 34, and by the side you can see there's 40 transfer making experts who are free hitting in 34, and there's 35 transfer making experts who are not free hitting in 34 there. So let's go through the free hitters first of all. Bradley, Lascelles and Saka seem to be the most popular transfers out, and you can kind of understand why. We've got Gabriel and Darwin on there as well. I think what we will find that is the fact that free hitters for 34 will be now removing players who double in 34. I mean, they don't mind because they're going to free hit these players back in game week 34 anyway. So they'll remove these players now, and then later on, they will be starting to build towards a good team for game week 37. So we're going to see what kind of transfers they're making to bring in. But basically, what we're seeing is free hits in 34 are removing players who don't necessarily double later on in the season, but it doesn't matter if they double soon because they're going to free hit them in anyway. I hope that makes sense. So Bradley, Saka, Gabriel, Darwin, you know, the Salah, a couple of transfers out for Salah as well among our free hitters. These players all double in 34, but they don't double later on in the season. So these are being removed now and replaced by players planning far in the future. That's what the free hitters in 34 seem to be doing. We've also got Lascelles there, who is injured for the rest of the season. He needs to be removed in order to get in a player with a nice double later on, maybe for a bench boost in 37 as well. In terms of the non-free hitters, so you guys, if you are not free hitting in 34, then your transfers out are actually going to be a lot different. So Spurs players are the players being removed because Spurs not only don't double in game week 34, but they don't even have a fixture in 34. So the plan for a lot of non-free hitters in 34 is to go into game week 34 with a maximum amount of double game week players as possible, which means removing players who do not double. Son, Pedro Porro, Areola, Foden, Ake, Barkley, Bradley, probably not even going to play it in that game week. Douglas, or limited minutes at least. Douglas Luiz, Gordon, Lascelles, none of these players will double in game week 34 other than Bradley, which is a whole other thing. Yeah, so these players are being removed, planning to then wildcard many of those players back in again. So we'll see a lot of wildcards in 35 for the non-free hitters. They'll be bringing back Son, Porro, etc., etc. Foden probably comes back in as well. So there we go. Very, very different lists. Almost opposite players on either side of the page here. That is the difference. And that is why it's so important that we only really take advice from the experts who are on the same transfer chip strategy path as we are. So if you're free hitting in 34, the players you want to bring in are players who double later on in the season, as we just mentioned. So Burn has a double in 37. Foden has a double in 37. Van Heck has a double in 37, as do the Manchester United players like Garnacho and Højlund. Man City players, Haaland, Edison, Isak, Newcastle, João Pedro, Brighton. These are the players you want to bring in now in preparation for later on in the season. We're planning ahead. If you're free hitting in 34, you're planning way ahead into 37. I say way ahead. We're only 4 or 5 game weeks away from those doubles, aren't we? If you are not free hitting in game week 34, well, your eyes are on the more instant future. You know, we're looking for the short term here. If you're not free hitting in 34, we need to get game week 34 doublers. Eze, Luis Diaz, Van Dijk. A few transfers still in for Foden and Haaland, and given that Luton fixture, you can kind of understand why. But again, Havertz, Sarabia, Ait Nori, so the Wolves guys, obviously they double in 34. And we've got the likes of Pickford there as a goalkeeper, Ben White as well. So if you're free hitting, then the players on the left you're going to be looking at: Burn, Foden, Van Heck. If you are not free hitting, Eze, Luis Diaz, Van Dijk. These are the kind of players you want to get into your team. So here are some suggested transfers for those who are free hitting in 34. Bradley to Burn makes a lot of sense. Lascelles to Van Heck, nice cheap option there for you for later on in the season. And Saka to Foden as well is a pretty interesting one. It sounds crazy to lose the players like Saka, but if you're free hitting in 34 anyway, it doesn't really matter. You can get these players straight back in for the double game week using your free hit. So those are the kind of transfers you might be thinking about making if you're on a free hit next week. If you're not, Son is a player who's probably going to have to go. Luis Diaz is a good replacement there. Plays Crystal Palace this week and then has the double game week the following game week as well. Freeing up a little bit of budget if you want to mess around with your team a little bit as well, because there will be a few people bench boosting actually next game week rather than free hitting. We've got Foden to Eze as another potential transfer. If it looks like Foden is not going to start for Manchester City this weekend, then Eze is a nice replacement there going into the double in 34. And Pedro Porro out for Van Dijk. I think that Liverpool defender works very, very nicely indeed this game week. onto some captaincy, and I think we can combine the data for this game week because it doesn't really matter if you're free hitting in 34 or not. You still need to find a decent captain for game week 33, which is not a double game week or anything like that. So yeah, we have got a standout player for today's video for game week 33, and it is Erling Haaland. Once again, we're seeing him top of the pile, and against Luton Town at home, you can't be so too surprised by that one, really. There might be some slight maybe doubt that there's a chance that Haaland doesn't start in game week 33 potentially, but in reality, he probably should start in this game. And against Luton, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? You know, top scoring player of the Premier League against a very weak Luton Town defence. You know, it's just very, very sensible. We've also got a lot of people captaining Salah against Crystal Palace, 29%. So that is a decent differential captain if you are willing to bet against Erling Haaland. A lot of our experts are jumping on this bandwagon as well. I think that's absolutely fine. Salah at home is always a good chance of getting FPL returns, and he has been getting a lot of chances. He might not be finishing all of his chances, but at least he's been getting those chances, which is half the battle, really, isn't it? But there is some other players being captained as well. Cole Palmer on 5% against Everton, which is, you know, there's some numbers there. And we've got tiny trends for Son and Tony. Son playing against Newcastle, Tony against Sheffield United at home. Whenever a player plays Sheffield United at home, we will often see just a couple of people taking the risk on a captaincy over there. And we've got 1% to this game week as well, and that is going to be Alexander Isak. So yeah, one person going for Isak this week against Spurs, which I think is at least a little bit interesting. I don't mind that one too much. But all penalty takers, all of our captain choices this game week are penalty takers. There's nothing super crazy in here, I don't think. A lot of big players, a lot of big names with the odd differential, but there's always a few, isn't there, guys? But yeah, if you are wondering who you should be captaining this week, who do the experts recommend? Well, it's a very obvious and very boring Erling Haaland, unfortunately for you guys, but Salah is definitely got some numbers there as well among our experts to back him up as a potential choice as well. And we may as well do the bonus question because we did actually ask this question before sorting all of our data for today's video. Took a little bit longer to go through it and divide everyone into free hitters and non-free hitters for game week 34, but asking this question allowed me to split up that data, and hopefully that is going to give us much better ideas on who we should be transferring in and out. So, guys, the overall results for this particular question, and the question was, will our experts be using their free hit chip in game week 34? We saw 40% saying yes and 60% saying no. A pretty nice even split there, but we are seeing favors towards the no free hit this week, or no free hit next week. So yeah, make of that what you will. It is even enough that you can say both strategies are clearly very viable. There's not a huge amount to split this difference. I think it will be more interesting to see how many people bench boost next game week, because I think we could see slightly more of a split, slightly more of a divide between our experts on that. I think, well, I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but I don't think too many will be bench boosting next week. But I'm super curious to find out how many. Maybe I'll be surprised by that one as well. But that's going to be the question next week. This was the question. This week, free hitting in 34. 40% are doing it. 60% are not doing it. There we go. Guys, if you enjoyed this one, please do drop a like. Like I said, it took slightly longer to put this video together because of dividing that data very manually, which took a little while, but hopefully it was worth it, and we got some good data from today's video, I feel, and definitely it's going to help us make our decisions no matter what strategy path we have taken. But guys, do subscribe if you're new around here. Feel free to check out another FPL video. We've got loads on the channel at the moment, but until tomorrow's team selection video, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.